what are like maybe 1, 2, or 3 things that is inside of someone that a successful person must have?
I think the fire under that really pushes you to be able to get to that next level. When you wake up in the morning, what motivates you? You know, it's kind of the cool thing about fitness is being able to talk to people and figure out what demons are you fighting? Why are you doing this? One thing I like to talk to all my clients is like look them in the eyes like, all right, why are you in the gym today? What do you classify as success as in your eyes?
A successful legacy to when I die, my kids just think the world of me.
I agree with that.
I ran into a stat the other day. CEOs over the age of 62 that retire, % of them die within 2 years.
What?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Successful DNA. I have my friend Jake Rath today on the pod. Jake, welcome to the pod. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're a busy guy.
Yes, sir.
All the content, Stryde Social, Rathletics, and the new company Top Set.
Yes, sir.
Before we get started, let's give like the 30-second minute elevator pitch on each company so the listener knows what they are.
Yeah. So basically, my first company I ever started was Rathletics Performance. So started that in, I think it was, September 2024.
I see what you did there. Rathletics. I like
Rathletics. Yeah, so my last name is Rath. And so it started Rathletics. My best friend, Caden Folk, actually came up with that. So basically what it started out as is a personal training company where we do in-person training and online coaching. In-person training transformed into fully online now just because I'm able to travel and do other stuff and help people all across the world. So with online fitness and through workout meal plans, peptides, stuff like that. So we're able to connect a lot of people. And that kind of led me into sponsoring a local run club called South Florida Run Club at the time, which I ended up helping out, a lot with leading the warm-ups and just kind of helping out with and just, hosting the events as a whole. Next thing you know, the owners of the company were like, hey, we want you to come in, help us out. And I was like, okay, cool. So took ownership of the company with 2 of my best friends, Norman Rivera and Lexi Paco. And us 3 turned from South Florida Run Club in Fort Lauderdale into Stryde Social, where we've expanded nationally. Now one of the largest run clubs in the country, able to, host events, health and wellness events, run clubs. Our new thing that we do is kind of like called run and raves. We do them all over the country. So we'll go into like a coffee shop, for instance, and we'll just kind of like shut it down. We'll do like a 2-mile run or 1-mile walk. And it's like a singles run club too. So we're black for single, we're colors for taken. Have a ton of sponsors out there. And basically after the run, come back, kind of set up a table with the DJ, and then we'll just have tons of people in there just hanging out, having fun. Nice. It's a good social environment to be able to have. It's all about balance, taking care of yourself and having like that healthy fitness social lifestyle.
And then Top Set?
Top Set's my new baby I'm working on. Yeah, so it's...
Have you talked about it yet?
Yeah, this is my first time actually talking about Top Set. So I'm actually really excited to be able to talk about Top Set. It's kind of been something I've been working on. Obviously, this is, my baby hasn't been born yet, but been working on it a ton. For the past 8 months. Basically what we do is we take influencers and we help them monetize their platform through fitness. Basically, so like any of your favorite influencers, you can go out and buy their workout meal plans, stuff like that, to be able to kind of, follow along with what they're doing. Also, we're going to be offering different stuff with supplement lines, collaborations, and also stuff along the lines of like high ticket coaching for these people to be able to, basically get the best performance they can out of it.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So, I'm a follower of you and your content's all over the place.
Thank you.
And I feel like the past 6 months has really blown up a little bit.
Absolutely.
You're doing a good job on the content. Keep that up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's start. We'll eventually go way back, but let's start like, when did the fitness itch start for you? How old are you now?
23. I turned 24 on Valentine's Day. I got 2 weeks.
You're a baby, dude.
Yeah. So coming up soon. My fitness itch. It's kind of a funny story. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. I had always been like an undersized guy growing up. I was always the smallest kid on my rugby team. I played rugby. I used to be like the smallest kid on my rugby team growing up. I played rugby starting from 6th grade until, late after post college and stuff like that. And, it was a really fun sport, but I was always the smallest guy. And so, one day we were at school and me and this kid were supposed to get in a fight. We got into it and he was, going to fight me. And I was like, okay, I think I got him. Yeah. I was talking to this girl in my study hall class and I was like, yeah, I think I could take him. She's like, no, you have noodle arms. And I like looked at myself and I looked at my arms that day and I'm like, oh, I think she's right. And it hit hard like that one hit. Yeah. So that day I went to the Brentwood YMCA, started lifting and just kind of never turned back. And the cool thing was I found a good group of friends within the gym that like became my best friends at the time. And, you know, we're 16, 17 years old, getting in trouble, doing all the fun stuff, whatever. And, you know, kind of staying consistent in the gym, just right as I hit my growth spurt as well, was awesome. You know, be able to have that, you know, kind of push every day where it was like the fun thing to do with your friends, you know, like we've kind of talked about in the past, where it's like the people you surround yourself with is the people that you become. Yeah. And so the people I surround myself with were all like the guys who were just getting in the gym, super obsessed with the next level. And so I just fell in love with fitness. And, you know, after like probably around my senior year when COVID hit, I started to figure out, what am I gonna do? I was literally serving pizzas at Domino's, doing like a pizza driver. It was probably the worst job I ever had, but it just forced me to think. I'm like, all right, I'm literally bottom tier of America right now. What am I doing with my life? Like, before I go to college, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And I started to figure out, all right, I'm one of those guys. I can't do a desk job. My ADHD, I can't sit there. You couldn't pay me to sit there and do a desk job all day. I did tons of jobs over the years, different things. And I started to figure out, what do I have a passion for? You know, what do I enjoy? Where do I feel happy? Where do I able to actually focus and get good attention to be able to put towards my work? And that was fitness and, sports. And that was something that I always loved, to be able to play rugby, stay fit and just have fun. So when I was 18 at University of Tennessee, I ended up going to play rugby there. I was 18 and I got my personal training certification. Started personal training at Gold's Gym there. It was a super fun time. And then I got hurt playing rugby about probably 3 or 4 months into becoming a trainer. And so I just basically kind of backed off of training for a while, took my time and just started playing it casual and just started enjoying the college life, traveling, doing fun stuff like that.
So University of Tennessee, you're a Vol?
Yeah, I'm a volunteer. Go Vols.
So, funny story. So, I played baseball at University of South Carolina. And when we played at Tennessee, I can't remember if it was junior year or senior year.
They're aggressive.
Yeah. It was the weekend of the spring football game as well.
Yeah.
It was cool because I think on that Saturday, the day of the spring game, we were playing, I think it was like early afternoon game and then late afternoon or night spring game. And Peyton Manning came in through the first pitch.
That's awesome.
Came and shook all our hands. So that was cool.
Yeah,
Peyton Manning.
I
agree with you. One thing I thought about when you said kind of, the people you hang around with are going to be your future. The best way I've heard that put, there's a guy named Chris. I heard him talk one time. I forget his last name. You remember it was a while ago, maybe 5 or so years ago, they had that shooting in Charleston at that church. It was like Charleston 9. Yeah. His mom died at that church. She was shot. So now he's like a public speaker and tells his story. It's an awesome story. But he put it was the company you keep is the legacy you seek.
Okay, I like that.
That's like a more inspirational way. I couldn't come up with that.
Absolutely.
Let's back up to childhood. What was childhood like? Any entrepreneurial spirits, through childhood? Or,
yeah, absolutely. From a young age, my mom actually sent me a picture yesterday. Nashville just got pelted with snow and ice this week. And she sent me a picture. And I used to go, basically, it would snow. I'd get excited because I'd go make money. Yeah. I'd go start shoveling driveways.
No flamethrower?
No flamethrower at the time. No,
I did videos?
Yeah, I have seen those videos. And so I just go start shoveling driveways just to make a quick buck, doing whatever I could do. I was in, 6th and 7th grade, going to, different neighbors and just knocking on doors, asking as much, get an estimate or whatever, give my, my 12-year-old estimate on how much I would charge them for their driveway. It'd be like $20 to $50. I remember this one guy gave me $100. He said, keep working. And I was like, that was the best day ever.
I'm rich.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was so rich. And it was fun, man, and so having an entrepreneurial sort of like mentality growing up, I feel like I've always been more of in like a leader mindset of being able to help other people and kind of guide people along the way. Being a captain on the rugby team and stuff like that has always been something that I've enjoyed, kind of leading people. And so that's kind of where the entrepreneur mindset has been going. But I mean, I've worked in so many different industries growing up. One of my funny jobs, I swear this is a true story. So my name's Jake. I was Jake from State Farm. I actually worked at State Farm as an intern for a summer. This was in college, but I actually would call people. I'm like, hey, this is Jake from State Farm. How you doing today? They're like, stop prank calling me. I'm like, no, it's actually me. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, it was kind of crazy. So like, having that industry, being able to attach myself to all these different industries and figure out what I want to do was kind of fun at a young age to kind of figure out. But Being an entrepreneur, man, it's one of the best things, but it's scary at the same time.
Were your parents entrepreneurs or?
So my dad's a pilot for Southwest,
Cool.
and my mom does medical sales.
Okay.
Yeah, so my mom is probably the best salesman you've ever met in your entire life. She's a beautiful woman, knows how to talk very well. She can literally sell an ice tin Eskimo.
That's funny.
And then my dad, very hard worker. He's one of those guys.
He's
He's a perfectionist. Yeah, absolutely. He is a pilot for Southwest, so he's been pilot with them for what, 13 years. Been pilot for like 25.
He was a pilot at Spirit, so we could crack jokes on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Southwest is great. You can't crack jokes on Southwest.
Southwest is a great airline. We love Southwest, and that was kind of a cool thing for me growing up. My entire life until after college, I had free flights, and so the coolest thing about that is I was the one who was abusing that. I took advantage of that. I get to travel the world at a young age, through my parents traveling, and then started solo traveling, high school and into college and stuff like that. And so I got to experience a lot of really cool things that have kind of opened my eyes to what's really out there in this world, between all of the United States, different countries. It's been really interesting to be able to have the opportunity.
Did I see Southwest is going away from open seating?
I believe so.
When's that going to happen?
To be honest, they said it was going to be 2026, and then they pushed it back, I think, to sometime this summer, if I could be correct. But as a standby passenger, I don't really fly standby anymore. I buy my own flights now. But before that was definitely the nice thing. I could kind of go weasel my way into a good seat.
I guess they had their reasons, but that was like their staple.
Oh yeah. Me and my sister used to go on the flight, and so when there was probably 5, we knew the amount of seats that were left on the plane. Yeah. And so when somebody asked to sit in the middle seat, we'd just put the crumble like Cheerios or something in the middle.
Start coughing.
Yeah, we would start coughing. I'd have her like a little girl. She'd be able to sleep on there. I'm like, sorry, she's sleeping. Because we knew there's other seats that they could sit in. We knew exactly how many were open. Yeah. So we'd always do some funny stuff, act crazy, just to kind of make sure that people wouldn't sit in the middle.
Only sibling?
Yeah, so I have a little sister. She's 21. She plays soccer at Tennessee right now. She's my best friend. Her name is Sarah Kate. We call her Skate. That's her nickname. And so Skate, she's one of the best soccer players at University of Tennessee right now. They had a really good run this year, so definitely shout out to them.
Kind of a question I want to know the answer to. Were y'all always close? Were y'all always best friends?
Oh, we were button heads at a young age. Yeah,
good.
Yeah, no, you probably understand having kids.
Yeah. So I got the 6-year-old and 4-year-old boys. I mean, they are at each other's throat from when they wake up to when they go to sleep. So I'm hoping one day that turns. When did it turn for y'all?
I would say later in high school.
Great.
It took a little bit of time. It was more of her versus me for so much time until it was us versus my parents. And then it was all right, we can have fun now. I was always, growing up, I was always the troublemaker. I was always the class clown. I was always the kid getting in trouble for doing stupid stuff. Never crazy stuff, but just getting in trouble for little things here and there in school.
She wasn't.
No, she never really was. She was always straight edged.
It was kind of like me when I was like you, and my older sister was just just straight A student, amazing, never in trouble. And they'd be like, "You're Erica Caldwell's brother?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
They didn't believe it.
No, my sister to this day, even in college, because she followed me and going to Tennessee and stuff. To this day, they'll be like, "Oh, you're Rath. You're Jake Rath's sister." And she'll be like, "Yeah." And she's like, "No, I'm nothing like him." Just kind of throw it out there.
Don't put that on me.
Yeah, I mean, she was behind me out of elementary school, middle school, high school, the whole nine. And the one time I ever got suspended from school, it's a funny story. I was never really doing bad things. I wasn't really getting in fights and stuff like that. But the one thing that I got in trouble for was my freshman year of high school. I was a Samsung kid. I had a Samsung phone, and so I would sit in class and I know, I was one of those kids. I had an Android, and so I had an app on my phone where I could control the projectors in class. And so it was probably the most fun thing because I came into high school and I had classes with seniors and juniors and stuff like that. I'm like, I got to show them who I am, kind of put on some shows. And so in all my classes, I used to just sit there and they'd be in the middle of class and I'd pull up my phone and I'd just kind of turn off the projector. Teachers would flip out, start freaking out, trying to figure out how to fix it. They get it back on, and then they'd just flip it off again. And everybody in the class is laughing their ass off. It was so funny. Oh yeah, well, that's my problem. I didn't know how to keep my mouth shut. Ended up leading me to getting caught because we had a we had in PE back in the day, we had the sex ed classes where they were talking about, the whole, baby birds and bees stuff. Yeah. And I just kept shutting the projector off left and right, would just turn the channels and everybody knew it was me. And so somebody snitched, but it's all good.
Did you graduate from Tennessee?
Graduated from University of Tennessee in 2024.
Exercise science, I'm guessing.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing. Yeah. I'm always been a business guy.
Yeah. Especially for what you're doing now. And then, I mean, that was last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah. So I've been out of college. What's 2026 now? So yeah, about a year, almost 2 years coming on.
Cool. So childhood, high school, University of Tennessee, and then what brought you to, of all places, Tampa?
So in college, kind of back to, I was training, got hurt playing rugby. And then, so I started kind of taking time off of, training, kind of enjoyed the college lifestyle. And that led me into meeting some cool people who worked in the alcohol industry. So I worked in alcohol sales. Starting my junior year, I started working for a tequila company called El Mexicano Tequila. It was a great tequila company. It was a family friend-owned business. And got some experience in sales with that. And then that led me into eventually getting a connection to a company called Happy Dad, hard seltzer. A good friend of mine in Nashville named Kyle Mercier was the brand manager in Nashville. And he was like, hey, I need some help in Knoxville. I think you'd be great for the job. And I was like, this is awesome. I've been a huge Nelk Boys fan for years. I was like, this is gonna be so fun. And so I started working for Happy Dad. I was the Happy Dad brand manager in Knoxville, and I started representing the brand. They basically had me go out and expand the product in Knoxville. I'd go to different stores, restaurants, throw events at bars and stuff like that for a long time. And it was super fun. Had a blast. It was probably one of the most fun jobs because I didn't really have to pay for alcohol. I got free alcohol in college, and that was fun. And got to do some fun stuff. Everybody loves the Happy Dad hats. I'm sure to this day you walk around everywhere, and Happy Dad's does great with their branding. They have done amazing. Their hats are just all over the place, and so I was able to give out tons of hats, do cool stuff. And after college, that led me into a position where I was like, hey, what am I gonna do after college? So I talked to the guys at Happy Dad, and they're like, hey, we want you to move down to Fort Lauderdale for a full-time job offer. I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, cool. I get to go down there, live right next to the Nelk Boys. I'm going to have the best time ever. Moved down to Fort Lauderdale in June, first week of June. Signed 2024. Yeah. Signed a 15-month lease. The day after I signed the 15-month lease, I got fired from Happy Dad. They called me. They're like, hey, we're going to have to let you go.
They say why?
Yeah, I was in college. We had our events at the bars, and our spending budget was definitely a little bit higher than it should have been. Nice. We had some fun for sure, and that came back to bite me in the ass. But at the end of the day, it sucked. But so I was then in a position where I was in Fort Lauderdale, had no job, had barely any money after college, had no idea what I was going to do with my life, and so this was kind of like the pivotal point. I'm like, all right. My parents luckily do very well, and they were like, hey, we'll help you with your first month's of rent, but you got to go figure it out. I'm like, cool. They're like, you can come move back to Tennessee. I said, I'm down here for a reason. Yeah. God sent me down here. I'm going to make it happen. So got a backpack full of resume. I created a resume that, from college, the, templates and stuff, and made a whole backpack full of resumes, probably print out like 100, and went around the city with a backpack and just dropped them off in every location, every restaurant, every building I could get into. There was one time I snuck into a building, into like a back room, and like ended up meeting somebody, and they let me go up to like, an area where they're like, how'd you get in here? It was a commercial real estate, Matthews. And I ended up going up there and giving them my resume. They're like, nobody's ever done this. And so, after 2 weeks, I had set up probably about 20 different interviews, and then narrowed that down. I ended up getting hired with 4 different jobs. So I did door-to-door solar sales with Spartan Solar. Started working at a restaurant called Moxie's, which is like the most popular restaurant in South Florida. They have one in Fort Lauderdale in Miami. Then I got hired as a promoter at a club at Dare, which is at the Hard Rock Hotel. And then I started working as a trainer at Powerhouse Gym. Cool. Yeah, and so I kind of had...
It's a fun life right there.
It was a very fun life. It was busy. And I started to figure out what I wanted to do. Over those jobs, I started to meet people in the industry. Obviously, I wasn't from South Florida, so I got to meet a lot of cool people. Through working at Moxie's, the most popular spot in the city, I got to meet some really cool connections. Working at Powerhouse Gym, obviously, gym is people go to work out, but it's also a very good social environment. Gets to meet some cool people, and then nightlife was great. Even in Spartan Solar, I got to meet some really cool guys who I got to work with, and learned a lot about social skills. Got some thick skin, knocking on doors in the summer heat of Miami, man. You develop some thick skin, and definitely learn a lot about rejection. You're knocking on somebody's door, they're cussing you out. You're like, all right, have a good day. Kind of got to be straight.
If I could pick one thing for the boys to do, when they're 18, 19, 20, it'd be door-to-door sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you get shit on.
Oh, door-to-door is brutal. Yeah. And I respect anybody who can do door-to-door. One of my best friends, or a really close friend of mine, his name is Bryson Bowman. This guy is the door-to-door champion. Yeah. All right. He lives in Miami, and to this day, he did, I believe it was insect, repellent and stuff like that. Or termination or whatever.
Termite, yeah.
Yeah, termites and stuff like that. So Bryson Bowman did all like the insects and stuff in South Florida, door-to-door. And this guy was a killer. Yeah. And he ended up turning it into his whole business now, where he's able to teach other people how to do door-to-door, how to do high ticket sales and stuff like that. But absolute legend. But door-to-door is something that, I think taught me a lot about sales for sure, and taught me a lot about, business in general. And so, doing those 4 jobs that I had, I started to figure out, what was making me money, what wasn't, what did I have a passion for, what did I not. So I realized door-to-door wasn't it for me. I think that I kind of realized that pretty quickly. I was like, this is just not it. So go door-to-door. Working at a restaurant, I was probably the worst server you could think of. Nice. Somebody asked for ranch. I'm great talking, great sales, good personality. Somebody asked for ranch. I'd forget ranch 3 times before I actually brought it to them. And it was just part of it. Serving wasn't it for me. Working as a promoter was, super fun lifestyle. The way I made it work in South Florida is I downloaded, all these dating apps and stuff, and I'd text a girl, hey, I think you're really cute. Would love to have you and your friends at my table tonight. And I'd copy and paste, send to 200 girls a night. And all of a sudden, these girls and their friends would all show up, and I'd have a table with me, my friend, and 30 to 40 girls. And it was the most fun job ever, obviously. It's a good time, getting a free table, doing stuff like that, 22 years old. But then I got a girlfriend. And so you can't be a promoter and have a girlfriend all at the same time. So got out of that lifestyle. And the last one was fitness, being a trainer at Powerhouse Gym. Loved it. It was a great time. It was fun. That was the first time I ever taught classes. I started teaching the glutes classes in there. I started teaching the silver sneakers, even helping old people. You're sitting at a chair, you're doing the marching, doing the simple stuff.
We got some videos of this.
Oh, we have some footage. And so I would teach all those classes, and I had a passion for performing. I've always loved to perform in front of people, talk to people, engage with people and stuff like that. And so I decided, I was like, hey, if I'm going to start a company right now, I got to make a pivot from all the jobs I was doing. I got to start something where I didn't want to keep looking for the next thing. Yeah. So started Rathletics Performance and started doing training out of my 4Runner. I had a Facebook Marketplace, and so I just started buying a bunch of equipment off Facebook Marketplace, packed up my 4Runner, found some high ticket clients, and then I would basically go to their house. I've got some of my closest friends who are my clients to this day. I would literally just pull up to their house in Boca Raton or Miami or Fort Lauderdale, and just go train them out of the comfort of their own home. So I was able to charge a high ticket for being able to come to them and still save money from not having to pay rent for a location as well.
What were you charging?
Probably about $150 to $200 a session. Broke guy out of college. It was pretty good money for me at the time, and scheduling a couple clients a day. Yeah, essentially. Yeah, for an hour, and it great money. And it was fun. That was really cool for me as well, because the cool thing about personal training is you're more than a trainer. You're a life coach for these people. Yeah. A lot of my clients I'm on NDA with, just because I'm so close with them about their lifestyle. I know everything about them. See them at their best and at their worst. And that's kind of the cool thing about fitness, is being able to talk to people and figure out, what demons are you fighting? Why are you doing this? One thing I like to talk to all my clients is look them in the eyes, all right, why are you in the gym today? What's pushing you to be able to be all right, I want to get in shape now. It's why now? And start finding that reason, and then, use that as your fire when you're pushing for that extra rep, when you don't want to go to the gym that day. Find that why, find that reason on, what's really pushing you, and then use that as your fire under your ass to be able to keep pushing every single day. And so, that was kind of the beauty of working with, personal training. Taught me so much about, all these people in different lifestyles. I was training CEOs, I was training, all the wives of the Florida Panthers players. I do a group class with them on the beach once a week, which was really fun. Working with all these people anywhere from, all these different industries. But I learned so much at a young age, and taught me to grow up really quick, for sure.
What's up, you guys? I wanted to introduce to you our done-for-you Airbnb investing service called BNB Turnkey that has massive tax implications. It's basically an investing service that allows you to invest in cash-flowing Airbnbs and not do any of the work. It's best explained in 3 phases. Number 1, we find, analyze, and underwrite the property. In phase 2, we handle all the interior design and construction. And then phase 3, we manage the property on the back end. The best part is most of our clients qualify for the short terminal loophole of the IRS tax code. This allows for average clients to write off over $200,000 in depreciation on their tax bill. For more information, click the link in the description to connect with our team. As always, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the episode. And then how has Rathletics changed going from Miami to here? Or then, how'd you end up in Tampa?
Yeah, so I went away for the summer into Europe.
Last summer?
Yeah, last summer.
25.
I had to go to Europe for the summer. And so went out.
You had to?
Yeah, it's a long story. All will come in due time.
Okay.
I can. That's all I can say on that. So I went to Europe for the summer, and that kind of forced me to have to step back from in-person training, and basically I started outsourcing. I hired trainers to work for me. And that was my first time I really realized I had to figure out how to make my business run without me.
Yeah.
I can't be my whole business. That's not long-term money. And so that's where I kind of stepped back from, in-person training and started focusing more on online. And, moving to Tampa was quite a impulsive decision, I should say. I love Fort Lauderdale. It was a great city. It was a great location. Met a lot of really cool people there, had cool experiences. But I came to Tampa, man, and it just had this feeling. And I was like, I just love it here. I love the energy. I love the people. I love the vibe of Tampa. I think that, it's a great place to be an entrepreneur in today's society. And, some of my best friends live here now. They're actually the ones who convinced me to come over here. I don't know if you know, obviously you met Julian and Jacob and, their roommates and Harrison and Jordan Godwin, all those guys. They're really great people. And so they actually were the ones, I was supposed to live with them originally. And that's why I moved up here. I was like, all pumped up and living with these guys. And then we ended up kind of doing our separate things as far as living, but we're still great friends. And, off those opportunities, I believe everything happens for a reason. So I came up to Tampa for a reason, met one of my business partners who I currently am doing Top Set with. Her name's Elliott Caldwell, phenomenal girl. But she's been helping me grow and scale that, that business as we're building it. And so Tampa's been one of the coolest cities to be able to be in because it's a big city, small crowd, I'd like to say. I feel like everybody kind of knows everybody in Tampa, at least in the certain scene.
So has Rathletics become more online, or are you still doing kind of the same thing?
Rathletics is all online now. Yeah. So I do all online.
No personal training here.
No in person. So that's why I really like the online scene because I travel a lot. I'm always on the road, so I have a passion for traveling. I travel a lot for Stryde Social as well on the weekends, and so it's all online pretty much right now.
And then when did Stryde show? When did that come into play?
So Stryde was, I'd say, about. So here's the story about Stryde Social. I was working at Moxie's as a server, and this guy walks up to me. His name's Norman. He's like, "Hey, here's my flyer for my run club. I'd love to have you out." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll come check it out." So went out there, kind of checked out the run club. It was a singles run club. I was like, "This is awesome." I was like, never been to a run club before. I was like, this is such a cool opportunity. And so I went out there and I talked to Norm. I'm like, hey, I love what you guys are doing. And, I love the sponsor. And so like I was talking about earlier, I started sponsoring the event, led one event, went to leading more events, leading the warm-ups. And then, one of the owners ended up dropping out and they called me and they're, hey, she's out, you're in. I'm like, let's do it. Sick. So yeah, that was kind of where I kind of stepped into play and, expanding has been definitely a lot of.
That was 2024?
Yeah, 2025 is when I took on. So about a year. I've been in the company about a year officially.
And it was only South Florida at that point?
Yeah, it was only Fort Lauderdale. So it's South Florida Run Club. And then we ended up changing the name to Stryde Social. Me and Norman sat on ChatGPT for about 2 hours and figured out our company name. Yeah. I think it was like Stryde Collective or something like that was the name that we came up with. And then he was like, Stryde Social. And then I was like, yeah, I love it. He's like, with a Y. I was like, I love it. Yeah. Let's do it. So we stuck.
Why with a Y? Why not?
Make it different, man. Because we looked up Stryde with an I and it had already been taken. He's like, let's make it a Y. And I was like, I love it. Perfect. So yeah, we kind of started taking that. And
how many locations are there now?
So currently we have done events in about 10 different locations around the United States. We have 4 different major cities that we host events
Nashville, here, there.
So Nashville, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, and Jacksonville. So one of our owners, Lexi, she lives in Jacksonville with her boyfriend. Cool. So they run the Jacksonville location for us. Fort Lauderdale is still run by Norman, and we have a team that runs it down there as well. Tampa, I run myself. I've got a group of ambassadors / interns that kind of work with us. I don't think we're allowed to call them interns, but who work with us. Great people. And then Nashville as well. It's my hometown. That was my happiness, was going back from the high school kid. It was always a class clown, getting in trouble, always like trying to figure out what I want to do, and be able to bring that back to my hometown and seeing kids from my high school, my college, from just my hometown coming to my events and just loving it, having fun. It's like that itself was worth everything to me.
When did you launch Nashville?
March of 2025.
So almost a year ago.
Yeah, almost a year ago. Yeah.
And then, so what does that look like going into a new, taking the business to a new city?
Yeah.
Like, how do you even get runners to come?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the cool thing about what we've developed is all of us have very good networks. I use my network to my advantage. That's exactly why I do what I do at this point, is being able to kind of network with the right people. So what we do is our structure is be able to find our new cities based upon obviously, is this going to be a profitable site for us? Are we going to be able to get sponsors out there? Are we going to be able to have a good location to be able to host these events? So for instance, Nashville, we partner with Barstool. Barstool Nashville is the coolest bar in Nashville. It just so happens to be my cousin's the GM.
Nice.
And so I hit him up. I was like, hey, we're doing some cool stuff down here in South Florida. Love to bring it up there. He's like, let's do it, Bubba. And so went up there. Chase Rutledge took care of us. We've been doing some cool events at Barstool Nashville. And it's been phenomenal just to kind of see, the growth and the rise. And I've obviously got a lot of personal connections to Nashville being from there. And so getting all my friends out there, get the reposts and stuff like that. But for new markets, like for instance, Tampa, is being able to get our connections out there as well. Our first event here, we had, I think 150 or 225 people or something like that. It was a massive turnout for our first event. And so we were like, all right, Tampa's going to be a nice spot for us. So that's why I ended up moving here. I just, fell in love with Tampa. I think it was a great location. And so we used our connections within Overtime Men's Health, they helped us out promoting our first event and just finding other good brands to be able to help promote us, as well as a good location, then just running ads, doing promo videos and stuff like that for the event.
It's the second time Julian's come up. Shout out to Julian, man.
Shout out Julian.
Dude, I think I love Julian. Like, there's social media Julian, and there's Julian. It's the most genuine, down to earth. You might get a thought about him or something because because he's wild. On social media,
100%.
But such a good dude.
Yeah,
just genuine, down to earth.
Him and Jacob, man, both of them, have really inspired me a lot in my social media journey, and as far as owning my own business, it's been really inspirational to be able to see their growth. I mean, me and Julian got connected about a year ago, and he was at 19K followers,
dude,
and
same.
Dude's at 200 something K. I mean, he's just been killing it, between his roles and
the Florida man stuff.
Yeah, Florida man stuff. His side quests. So he'd actually have done some really cool content together, just doing fun stuff. Brought him out to Nashville with us. He had a good time in Nashville.
Did you go to his party last weekend?
Yeah, we did. Hey, shout out to the tea party. That was insane. They had a lion, they had a tiger, they had dancers. Julian and Jacob came out wearing fur coats, just talking to the whole crowd about their business, their goals, and their future and stuff like that. And it was really cool to be able to experience. And that house is phenomenal, man.
I was joking with you earlier just about the different lives we live. And Julian was texting me, he's like, hey, you got to come to the tea party. I'm like, Julian, bro. I was like, I'm asleep by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I got a wake up call at 5:45 no matter what. I got one kid waking up at least by 6. It's so funny. I was joking with you earlier, everybody's going to Gasparilla this weekend. I'm going to Peppa Pig World.
Hey, Peppa Pig World. You'll be having a good time out there, man.
And then next door is Legoland. So we're going to do both.
Is that in Orlando?
Yeah.
Cool.
One of the theme parks over there. I mean, I'll probably have more fun than the kids, honestly. Just a child at heart, dude.
Hey, I totally feel that. And I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I love doing that. I love working with kids and doing stuff like that because I still feel like I'm a kid at heart.
Yeah, dude, you're so young, but one day, the most fun you'll have is doing life with your kids, dude.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I mean, I've had a lot of fun in my life, and just seeing the excitement in their eyes is it's special.
Yeah, one day, brother. Hopefully I have some kids.
Yeah, you will.
Not ready to have kids. I'm just practicing right now.
Yeah, you're too young, dude. You got a lot of life left. And then what's the plan to expand Stryde? Obviously city to city, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So Stryde, right now, we're one of the largest run clubs in the country. We have so many opportunities with Stryde to be able to, expand out and do some really cool stuff in this country. And the cool thing is about Stryde is we're offering stuff that nobody's ever done before. This whole singles vibe of health and wellness. We're going into different cities around the United States that haven't seen this before. For instance, we've done pop-ups in, Chicago, Austin, Texas, Atlanta,
Awesome, big.
yeah, Nashville, and we're West Palm, doing all these cool pop-ups have really shown that there's so many opportunities in different cities. I really want to go to Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I love Scottsdale. It's one of my favorite cities, and bring something like this out there. And I think that, our goal is to be able to really just expand and just have full control over all those cities. And that's something that we've struggled with, is trying to figure out, how do we expand at a proper rate? We started expanding pretty fast, really quickly, and it got really hectic really quick. I mean, throwing one event is tough, much less throwing 2 events in 4 different cities, every month was a lot to deal with at, our rate that we were scaling at.
Remind me after I got a good connection in Scottsdale, big time NFL player that can help you guys out.
Nice, that'd be awesome.
And just tag team Scottsdale and
that's our goal. We're trying to make sure that we get the cities that we have right now in the proper structure. I think we've got some big cities that we're looking to expand to next. I think we got a couple of them under wraps, but we've got some good opportunities. I got my eyes on Charleston.
another good one.
Love Charleston.
Go Gamecocks, dude.
Yeah.
I went to South Carolina.
Yeah.
From there.
Charleston, I think would be sick. I haven't been to Charleston yet. My best friend lives in Charleston right now. I've heard amazing thing about the city.
So cool.
Yeah, I've heard it's a phenomenal city, and so I'm really excited to be able to go out there. No, I haven't been there yet.
Dude, you gotta go.
Yeah, I've heard I've been missing out.
Yeah.
My buddy, he tells me all these stories. So there's a lot of pretty girls out in Charleston. So might have to go check it out there.
And then, so obviously Top Set's top of mind for you these days.
Top Set is one of those things where I'm at a point in my career where at 23 I'm putting all my funds into Top Set at the moment. So I'm just trying to earn as much income through doing brand deals and doing stuff with Rathletics. My personal not my personal training, the Run Club, Stryde Social, and through doing all those different things, I'm trying to earn the income that trying to power the engine of Top Set, trying to get it going, pay these other people. Because what I've learned is I'm only good at what I'm good at, and anything on the tech back end, I'm just. At the end of the day, I'm a good trainer. I can't tell you left and right about coding and software and stuff like that. And so I had to hire my nerds on the back end to be able to get that done for me. But that costs money. And so trying to find the balance of owning a business that's not making any money yet and just taking more and more money. And I've been burned a couple of times. I'm not gonna lie, my first time I've really taken a hit on a business was with Top Set, where I hired somebody to help me build something out, and it wasn't quite what we were expecting, and it didn't really work out well, and we lost a lot of money. And it was one of the first times as 23-year-old just kind of sitting here and being like, wow, not everybody's gonna live up to what they say they will. And so learning to have proper contracts, not trusting everybody that you do business with, and kind of make sure you cover yourself is something that I've learned recently. And but like I say, it's a mistake. Mistake is where it's broken up into is understanding that not everything's going to happen in your way, but you got to pivot and you got to learn, because that mistake right now could be a costly mistake. But in the future, when I grow and scale this company, or potentially start something else, then that's going to save me from making that mistake in the future. I'm a true believer, like I said, that everything happens for a reason, and no matter what, as long as you keep working hard and keep prevailing and keep the high intensity going in life, then everything's going to work out at the end of the day.
And then I know you obviously mentioned what Top Set was, but where is it? You haven't launched it yet.
No, so
where are things?
Yeah, so with Top Set, basically we have all the layout built out. We know exactly what we're doing. We have luckily the cool thing for our business is I've already done the hard work of the outreach. I've got a massive network of influencers that I currently work with and friends with and stuff like that. And so I've already got the people lined up. It's more of just like, can we deliver the product? I started out Top Set coming up with the idea of I had a friend of mine, Montana boys, and they were like, hey, we want to
Montana boys.
Yeah, Montana boys. They're like, hey, we'd love to sell some workouts. I'm like, let's do it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna build this out for you guys. Started doing it, and I'm like, okay, cool. I got an idea. I'm gonna get this done in a couple days. A couple of days turned into like a week. And then I was sitting there and I'm like, all right, this is way more in depth than I thought. And, you know, these guys have millions of followers. And so my goal is I didn't want to just throw something out there. I wanted high quality. And once I realized, you know, the potential that there was with one person, I realized how many people I could really do this with within my network. And so there's other companies that do similar things like this, you know, but our thing is that we're expanding to just not fitness influencers. We're doing fit influencers, people who are fit, people who want to monetize their following.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's another way to make money off your following.
And then they can not just be the person they're a fan of, you know, so they can like get to know them better, know their workouts or meal plan. Like
exactly. And you're supporting them as well.
Yeah.
It's a rev share model, rather than, you know, direct, payment. So like all these influencers, we don't charge them a dime. Everything's built out custom for them. We build out custom landing pages and we build out all their custom back end stuff. We build out the products for them, and with them, you know, so it's actually, these are actually their plans that we're building with them, for them to be able to sell to their followers.
And then what is Jake Rath's meal plan and workout plan?
That's kind of one of the things that I would like to, you know, kind of talk about too. My workout and meal plan has definitely changed a lot. You know, it depends on my goals. Traditionally, I've always been an undersized guy when it comes to body fat. You know, I've always been on the skinnier side. So basically, I have a high metabolic rate. I'm burning calories all day. Right now, I'm sitting at 6'3", 215 probably. And so I'm training for high rocks. And so my high rocks, my high rocks training is very different than anything I've ever done before. It kind of take me back to like the athletic days of playing rugby and starting to train more like an athlete rather than train like, you know, a bodybuilder. So I don't really do bodybuilding training overall. I'm a true believer in this thing called functional fitness, meaning you train for, you know, how your body works. And that's what I'm able to teach as a coach, with a fitness coach myself, is like, you know, what works for me isn't going to work for you. You know, I want to be able to create a custom plan for you that like works from anywhere from head to toe. If your right shoulder is more strengthening than your left shoulder, you know, so many different aspects that go into it. And so that's one thing that I've kind of built out for myself. I've got literally an entire AI model I talk to about every day about how I feel, how I perform, how I slept. My Whoop right here that I track all my data. I fill it all into the AI model. And then I just, you know, my own knowledge myself, build out those plans. So currently I'm on a split where I work out about 6 days a week. Every other day it goes from like a lifting.
In the morning, when do you lift?
Dude, to be honest, I'm so busy with all this stuff. I just get a lift in throughout the day. I like to run in the mornings. First run in the morning is always nice.
First run, there's more than one run?
Yeah, a basic run in the morning, like just like a little quick 2 miles, just kind of gets me woken up.
Quick 2 miles.
And then 2 miles. And then in the afternoon, if I'm doing a high rocks workout, I'll do like my 0.6 miles. Some days I do 0.3. And then you go do, you know, your intervals and stuff. So high rocks is one of those things where it's one of the most intensive fitness like challenges in the world. It's tough, man. I got one of my buddies in South Florida. His name's Christian Vitagliano. This guy wins high rocks. He doesn't compete. He wins. He's a beast. And so he's been teaching me his like strategies and stuff. But it goes, you know, you're doing 0.6 miles and then you do like 100-meter sled pull, 0.6 miles, 100-meter sled push. You know, you're going throughout that. My bad if I forget it. I haven't done one yet, but like there's so many different intervals that you're doing throughout there. But it's tiring, man. I've run a half marathon, you know, without really training. I did it. It wasn't pretty, but I did it. Yeah. And playing rugby over the years, I've always been in shape. But this stuff, like you're getting that next level of you know, physical, you know, cardiovascular health for sure.
And then meal plan.
I eat very clean. So I eat pretty much probably about 3,000 calories a day, I'd like to say, on and off. I'd like to stay pretty consistent with that. I follow a pretty structured meal plan. I work with a company called Nutray. They send me my meals throughout the week, and basically it makes it super simple and easy for me to track. And then when I'm on the road, you know, which I am about half the time, it makes it a little bit harder to track. But I found one of these apps that's been able to help me out. It's called MenuFit. So basically MenuFit is a way that you can basically scan any menu in the entire world, and it tells you exactly what the healthiest thing on the menu is for you to be able to, incorporate in your life.
Cool.
And so it's really cool. I've been using their stuff, and man, I tell you, that's been saving me so much time on being able to
the airport
actually, going to the airport, being on the road, just like traveling different cities, like where I don't have my meal preps, or like, you have to eat out, I'm not going to go to the grocery and when I'm staying at a hotel. So Many Fits definitely saved my ass many times. I love what they got going on. My buddy actually owns that Cole Costco down in Miami. Dude's a killer.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
And then let's end with this. With all three companies, let's start with Rathletics, then go to Stryde, then go to Top Set. Like maybe some goals, not necessarily like, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, just anything that, comes top of mind when you think about the future of those companies.
Yeah, it's kind of the cool thing about all my businesses is they all somewhat intertwine.
Yeah.
Similar to what your model is with your businesses, how one kind of connects into the next.
Yeah.
That's what I really love about what I get to do. My funnel, my bottleneck is coming from social media as a whole, from all my businesses, that lead me into, be able to have that offer for Rathletics, to be able to, just have an offer on my page, and then connect people to my events with Stryde Social. And then honestly, my goal is for Rathletics to be a high ticket offer for the Top Set Fitness one day. Basically like where, you can buy their custom workout meal plan for your favorite influencer or athlete, but they don't have time to do one-on-one coaching. And so that's kind of where we're going to step in and be able to do that one-on-one coaching for all these, people that we come. And then we obviously pay out the influencers per payment and stuff like that. As far as long-term goal, it has changed so many times. It's not even funny. I think I have an idea of what long-term goal is, and then something changes real quick.
Yeah.
I get new opportunities, I get new ideas, and I'd like to say I'm very open-minded about different opportunities. I'm also, very intrigued by, what the future has to hold.
I think what's hard is like things are going so well for both of us.
Yeah.
And then like I have a goal in mind, and this is the number I want revenue to get to, and it's like, we can get there in 10 years, and then 6 months go by, and it's like, oh crap, we're gonna get there in 2 years. And then that goal just keeps going down the line.
Yeah.
And which I'm fine with.
That's a pretty, you're making more money.
I mean,
100%.
I think the problem people would say is like you're just gonna keep chasing and keep chasing and keep chasing, which yes, and I think there's pros and cons to that. I think they ran into a stat the other day: CEOs over the age of 62 that retire, 50% of them die within 2 years.
Wow.
50%.
Wow.
That's a lot.
What?
Right. Yeah.
That's a crazy stat.
So it's like, I think part of us has to have something in our lives that we're like shooting for, and a constant, carrot dangling at the end that kind of, right or wrong, keeps us alive in some ways.
Absolutely.
And now, it can be dangerous too if that's all you care about, and that's not all I care about. I care about, first and foremost, my relationship with Jesus Christ, and then my wife and my kids and all that. But it is fun waking up every day.
Absolutely.
And building something special.
And I'd like to say that as well, with my career, what I've understood is, happiness is my number one thing, and making sure that, I'm in a happy place. Obviously you're going to do jobs and you're going to do stuff to be able to get through work that you're not going to be happy doing, but you have to do. But overall general happiness is my goal, and to be able to build a lifestyle that I want to live. I've got friends of mine who are making triple, quadruple times the money as me. And I've talked to them after college. They moved back to their hometown. They're making good money, doing stuff. And I'm like, how's it going? They're like, great, I'm making money. I'm like, cool. Are you happy? And some of them are like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of stuck in the office, not really, doing this, doing that. I'm like, okay, well, let's try to work on that. And I try to help them out. I'm not making nearly as much money as them, but I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life, because I'm able to do stuff where I'm able to really see people at their best. It's kind of the cool thing about Stryde Social as a whole is we host such fun events that like we only see people at their best.
Yeah.
I was talking to this girl who's a ER nurse the other day, and she was like, I'm jealous of your job. I'm like, why? And she's like, because I see people at their complete worst, and you could see people at their complete best. She's like, your job is awesome. Love what you get to do. And so, happiness is definitely one of the biggest things. And also like, as far as you talking about your 5-10 year goal, I'd like to say my goal is for myself rather than all my businesses is more of, to find a happy medium of work-life balance. I'd like to say that's kind of like where I've built my platform, has been the whole balance of lifestyle, being able to, work in the alcohol industry and have fun while still staying fit, and, still being able to make money while still being able to enjoy traveling the world as well. It's all about work-life balance and being able to take care of yourself, but making sure that you can have a healthy balance. Healthy as in, financially, healthy as in physically. I think that a lot of people get carried away with one or the other. Sometimes I still catch myself doing the same thing. Travel as much as I do, I get, I go to, a new city and I turn on vacation mode and I'm all excited. But in reality, I got to take a couple calls today, and make sure I get some computer work done. So my goal is, overall happiness, being able to travel to the world, see new places, get new experiences, meet as many people as possible, and just, live out every day like it's your last day. I'd like to say my biggest turning point in my life was my buddy. When he was like, "Hey, let's go skydiving one day." All right, cool, let's do it. Went skydiving, and I saw my life flash before my eyes. Jumped out of the plane, and I'm like, all right, I'm dead. And everything, I'm like, all right, what matters in my life? It was just that 5-10 seconds. So I was like, all right, and people say they see their life flash before their eyes, and it's so true. It's like, all right, what's important? Family, my overall happiness. Do I feel like I achieved everything that I did? And because nothing else matters in that point. When you're looking in the barrel of a gun, you're sitting there and you're like, all right, what really matters in life? And so that really changed my perspective on everything. I went home that day and, I started living every day to my fullest. I did what I wanted to do to be able to get there. I started realizing, that was in college, started realizing what I really want to do with my life. And so that was just a really big eye-opening opportunity to just live happier and just treat everybody with complete respect and just have fun, and also realize that, your loved ones are, you're rocking soul in your life. I got very lucky. My parents, I grew up in a very healthy household. Both my parents are very, happy together. It's been a great opportunity, but, just being able to kind of show them love as they've treated me well, like we were talking about earlier, taking that first month's rent that they took in the hole for me, has been great. So.
Listen, with the podcast being on Successful DNA, we try to end every pod like this. I mentioned to you before, whether it's yourself, people around you, any of your high profile coaching clients back in the day as in last year, what are maybe 1, 2, or 3 things that is inside of someone that a successful person must have?
I think kind of what we talked about earlier, the fire under you that really pushes you to be able to get to that next level. When you wake up in the morning, what motivates you? My roommate currently, his brother committed suicide, and had CTE and stuff like that, and he was in the military, and he had a lot of struggles, and that's his motivation every day when he wakes up. He looks at the flag that was his brother's, and he works harder than anybody I've ever met. Having that fire, and it doesn't really have to be even a bad thing at the end of the day. I've worked with CEOs who just look at their bank account every day and they're just fired up to see a couple mil in the bank, and then they just start working their day. It's just finding that fire under you that really produces, that push to be able to get to that next level. And when it comes to the next thing, it's going to be just relentless consistency with your physical health as well. Yeah. Physical and mental health is very important in today's society. I think that a lot of people get caught up too much in just trying to be too flashy and try to do this, try to do that, try to act in certain ways. But it comes down to being able to take everybody physically and mentally. One thing that I've done, that's helped me out with more than anything has been breath work. I love breath work. I love being able to have that, sort of kind of mental calmness to be able to really take whatever situation I'm in to the next level. I've noticed that a lot with the CEOs who I've worked with. Is just seeing their successes with, just mental calmness and being able to have a good mental health. If they're freaking out all the time, they're not going to be, in line to be able to make proper, conscious decisions. Yeah. And physical health as well. Making sure that, some of the most successful people that I know are in great shape. Not everybody at the end of the day, but as a whole.
Ben Mala?
Yeah. Yes. Who?
Ben Mala.
Ben Mala, I don't know.
The big house on Belair Beach? It's for sale right now for $35 million.
No, I don't.
I think he's all forms of content, but specifically YouTube has done well. But chain smokes is the most unhealthy human being I might know, but of
course,
so that was just sarcasm.
No, I totally understand that. And, like at the end of the day, like we were talking about too, is like not everybody who's successful is, there's so many different forms you could say of success. I think success is a very generalized term. I think, there's some very poor people who are you could consider successful in what they do. I think success isn't always money. I think like it translates over to happiness as well. And physical and mental health. I think if, some of the most successful people who I know from a financial standpoint are some of the, worst mental state people I know too at the same time.
That's a good point. Like, makes like success is subjective.
Absolutely.
Like,
very much so.
Like, what is success?
What do you classify as success as in your eyes? What would be like a couple things?
Me?
Yeah.
I think about this a lot actually, like from a legacy perspective. Like, what is a successful legacy? And like, I think my biggest goal is to when I die, my kids just think the world of me.
I agree with that.
I think that's what I like. I've said it on the pod all the time, but one of the first guests on the pod was our pastor. We go to Harborside Church up in Safety Harbor, and he does a lot of funerals. It's like there's three types of funerals when a dad dies or a grandpa, whatever, right? Or when a man dies, and how they were as the father. The first one is, dad was never around, worked all the time, just didn't have a relationship with him. 2, dad was okay. Like, yeah, there were good times. There were some, sometimes he's around, sometimes he wasn't. But then 3, like, dad was the absolute best.
Yeah.
And I want that. And I want them to, like, also, have the thought and then question, like, Dad, you were always around. How did you build what you built? While at the same time, I'm the manager of both little league teams.
The work-life balance.
And like my view on work-life balance, I think is different for me than it is for you.
Absolutely.
I think, at 33 and a father of soon to be 3, I'm going to work less than a Jake Rath might.
I'm in the building phase. You built.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're still, and of course I still have goals and, of where we want to get to. I think it's seasonal.
Yeah.
I think even now, I have no problem putting in 80-hour weeks if I have to. I don't have to at this point. We have a sick boat and we've built an amazing life, and I can take a Friday off or a Monday off or a Wednesday off. I can do kind of what I want and take the boat out. So I think that's what I wanted when I was your age, and had the goals of building. But I think the goal that remains consistent and that will never change is, my wife's 5 months pregnant. And when she's, when that daughter's 18, when she's 6, when she's 24, I want them, and my sons to know that, dads, that they're my everything.
Absolutely.
So,
You
made me cry on my own pod.
Yeah, man. Hey, no, I appreciate that. That's so true as well. With the success of being able to take care of your family at the same time. My dad obviously was a pilot for Southwest, and so he was gone about half the time. But when he was home, he was home. Yeah. And even when he was on the road, he'd always make the calls. Be like, "Where are you at?" And he'd be somewhere all over the world.
Yeah. It's hard when in the time we live in today with like our phones just constantly beside us. I actually had a goal of mine this year of tracking my screen time better.
Yeah.
And outside of like text messages, phone calls, like work Slack, but like just the junk stuff, like Instagram, scrolling, ESPN.com, whatever it is, limiting that to under 30 minutes a day.
Good. Yeah.
And so
I can't do that.
I've been trying to do that. Haven't been trying. I've been doing that.
I respect you for that. I'm stuck in the matrix right now when it comes to scrolling, man.
It's just like,
it's tough.
Hard.
It really is. And so I've been in that position recently where I make most of my money through social media.
Right.
And that's like my biggest thing that has helped me make the most money. But I think the biggest thing that's held me back from making the most money as well. Yeah. I get caught in this doom scrolling positions. And I think everybody does it at our age.
I mean, even in our industry, in like the hospitality industry, there's like a movement of less, of more time with creating atmospheres, whether it's in our hotels or in our Airbnbs, of connection, of whether it's via fireplaces or via more community style rooms, but creating that connection. Well, cool, man. Well, Well, thanks for coming, dude.
I appreciate everything,
Yeah.
man. I really enjoy
fun.
this podcast. I think that, talking to a successful guy like yourself is definitely motivating for me.
Yeah.
Being able to learn from you and
Same here,
understand
dude.
everything.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Fire me up. I want to go work out a little bit.
Let's go hit a lift. Let's go do it. Appreciate you.
Thanks, bro.